me about this whole
Sources.
This episode was recorded on riverside.fm. Log on today to start your own podcasting journey. Hey Shani, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm fantastic, fantastic. Happy that you're finally here. Happy that we're
Yes.
about to have this amazing conversation about, something that I know that you're really passionate about and something that I
Absolutely.
think can definitely change the game and change lives. So
Yes.
let's just start from the very beginning. Tell my audience a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Chani Saied. I'm a St. Lucian by birth. I currently live outside of the country in the US, but I'm St. Lucian. I'm an educator by profession, although I'm about to take a little bit of a turn to a different field, which is going to be very exciting for me. But my background in education is very foundational to who I am as a person. I have a great love for education, which came from my mother's own career in education herself. Since I've been in the US, I've been a teacher, but I've also been a teacher back in St. Lucia. I taught at the primary level and the secondary level, which kind of will give some insight into what we're going to be talking about today. That's where my passion began. And I kind of took it in the direction of business, which I didn't foresee really, but I'm very excited to talk about it today. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So we will get into this a bit right now. So you kind of referenced it a little bit in your introduction. Um Tell me about this whole Bridgepoint Scholars thing. What is Bridgepoint Scholars?
My pleasure. I love talking about Bridgepoint, so we're going to have a good
Uh,
time today. Bridgepoint Scholars is what I consider the answer to a, a lot of gaps that we all see in the Caribbean educational landscape. I think we all see the accessibility gaps. We know that we have brilliant minds. We have good, strong, traditional educational systems, but we don't always see that depth in our supplementary resources, in our tutoring and outside of school resources. I think we all see the constraints that are imposed by geography. We know that a lot of resources are concentrated on some of the more developed Caribbean islands or the bigger ones like Jamaica and Trinidad. And so, although we follow the same curricula, we don't all get equal access to all the same resources. So Bridgepoint was kind of in response to that. Um, Again, it's not revolutionary in terms of what we're addressing, but I do think we took the approach of trying to have a harmonized, unified approach to supplementary education in the Caribbean at a scale that has not been attempted as yet.
got you. Got you. So then, what was a specific moment when you knew that this had to begin for you? I mean, you kind of said that you saw the gaps, but seeing the gaps and actually doing something about it are two different things. So when do you know,
Absolutely.
hey, we're gonna do something about this? Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, it was like I said, I'm pursuing a little bit of a career change to medicine,
Mm-hmm.
but
Right.
I have a long thank you. I have a long career in education and tutoring. So I've been tutoring essentially from when I started my university career, even before that,
Mm-hmm.
really, until sometime earlier this year. And once I informed my long time tutees and students, both here in the US and in the Caribbean, that I would be kind of taking a little bit of a break from that once I started, a lot of them lamented the fact that, you know, it's so convenient that I can meet with them virtually, or I've been with
All
them for
right.
such a long time and I've gathered so many interesting resources and I've been able to provide support, and I was a little bit
Mm-hmm.
grieved by that because it's something that I really am very passionate about. So I got to
Right.
thinking about how can I continue to serve in this capacity or create opportunities for the kind of service that I see myself providing for students and for families that need that kind of support when I cannot be the one to do it because I'm not the only one with the skill set. And so, in talking to my family, my husband, I decided, why don't we have a more unified tutoring system throughout the Caribbean? And I'm like, well,
Right.
it's a good question, but there's an answer too, right? So I got to thinking about it. My
Right.
husband is thankfully a computer engineer, so he had some thoughts and he had some tools. And that's kind of the main catalyst for it. It really just was me trying to meet a need of my own personal students that I then saw I could meet
Mm-hmm.
maybe for an even wider market and population.
Got you. Got you. So you were filling a personal gap, and it
Yes.
was a gap that other people have as well. Um,
Yes.
and I like the point that you brought up, and I like the idea that you have been at this point a tutor for such a long time. Because we had Cohen Springer of the Student Hub on this
Yes.
podcast before, one of the major people in your space, and we had a
Yes.
conversation with him, and one of the things that he was saying is that he had been tutoring like his cousins, and he saw success in that field for himself. And I'm coming to think that, maybe because you saw how important it was, for your tutor, your tutees rather, to
Yes.
learn from a specific individual, somebody who could actually
Yes.
walk them through a system. I'm seeing that you saw it important to, share it to a wider market.
Absolutely. That's exactly how I feel. I mean, you really do get it's a really intimate experience watching the evolution or the metamorphosis of a student, either needing remediation or just having a very specific academic goal and being able to watch them go through that process of getting to that goal. And like I said, I'm not unique in my ability to teach or to get resources. There's people everywhere, especially in the Caribbean, who have those skills and talents, but we just don't have a platform, that was set up. So that was kind of the catalyst there to share my vision that I know it's not just only my own, with so many people who have the skill set to be able to deliver that kind of educational experience.
Right. Now you're serving a market, like you said, that has gaps in the Caribbean. It's a wide market. We have several similar cultural, I guess, cultural connections amongst the Caribbean
Right.
islands, but it's still a wide ranging market. What have been the biggest issues you've had navigating this Caribbean landscape?
Well, you mentioned it, honestly. It's honoring the fact that we are separate nations. We have a lot of things that are
Right.
very similar, right? But not everything is the same. Currency is turning out to be one of the big hills we have to climb
Wow.
because we have to
Yes.
receive and pay tutors from all different regions. So we've found a solution, thank goodness. Um, but also just um, approaches to and receptiveness to things like virtual spaces in education or using certain virtual tools, or the idea of meeting families in countries that you're a Barbados UE student teaching someone from Grenada who's not in the
Right,
same
right.
physical location. I don't think we have anything that's kind of at that level in terms of that kind of interaction. So that's a barrier that I foresee. I'll be honest, the reception has been incredible, both from the
Wow.
parent, student, administration, governmental agencies, even. We've been getting extremely good reception, but it really is a challenge to be able to navigate the nuances that exist between different territories. Even though I would say we share so much more than we're different, the differences matter. So even in our approach to marketing, in our approach to recruitment, it looks a little bit different for every territory, but we've been having great success. I mean, really just beyond our wildest dreams. So it's been really good.
Got you. So then you did say that you're not unique in with regards to what you offer. There are other people who offer similar things, but what sets Bridgepoint apart? I see something that you have 70,000 practice questions
Yes.
covering from primary education all the way to CAPE and SAT. Does that set Bridgepoint apart, or what else sets Bridgepoint apart? What makes you guys special?
No, you're absolutely right. So, like I said, Bridgepoint is not the only platform offering, for example, past paper questions to students in the Caribbean. We're not the first, probably won't be the last. I think
Right.
what sets Bridgepoint apart is I have a pedagogical background. And so when I was designing the platform, I was doing so with the needs of tutors, i.e., educators, and students in mind. And I think I leaned on that background quite a bit in my education and my skills there. So in designing, also because my husband is very instrumental in the development of the website, I was able to look over his
Mhm.
shoulder and say, this is not going to be work well for young students, or students would like to see XYZ, or this is going to be a good resource for tutors based on my
Mhm.
background. So I do think the fact that the person developing the website and the person with the content pedagogical background, the fact that we were so
Mhm.
close, helped to develop a platform that uh, was not just, for example, a repository for resources, but a harmonized
Yeah.
system that considered how students learn, the psychology of how students learn, things like Bayesian shrinkage and how that affects student retention, things like, for example, vetting tutors and getting high quality tutors on our platform. We have people with a business background and HR background that we're all working together to create this ecosystem rather than just here's a resource to use. We're showing
Right.
you how that resource is best implemented. We take you through the life cycle of the educational experience. We don't just have, for example, resources to help you through Form 4. We do that vertical alignment as well. What are you supposed to, what should you have done from Form 3 to be able to take you into
Right.
Form 4 and Form 5? So I think a lot of that comes from the experience of me being in education for the last 10 years, but also because I have a passion for it and because I was able to influence so heavily the design of the platform in consultation, of course, with so many educators and decision makers throughout the region.
Beautiful, beautiful. You sound like you've built and you are building a remarkable team.
I hope
All
so.
right. We hope so. We hope so. All
Yes.
right. So we're due for our first commercial break, and we will be back with more Shani after this. All
Awesome.
right. Bruh, people keep asking me, how do I get into this podcast space? How do I actually get into podcasting? But it's so easy. I don't know why you guys are overcomplicating it. All you need is a browser and riverside.fm. It's that simple. This tool is designed to simplify high quality video and audio online. Whether you're doing interviews for your startup, doing a live webinar, or just need some talking head clips, it records everything locally. This means that even if your internet lags, you get smooth video quality at 4K and smooth audio as well. Plus, it turns your long form episodes into short clips that you can share across social media. If you want to start podcasting or recording online like a pro, click the link down below. You spend months planning for the perfect event. You have great guests, you have great speakers, and the event is a success. But in 24 hours, it's gone. But what if it doesn't have to be? Introducing Event Voices by Game Changers. We shoot a live podcast episode at your event, turning your speakers into content. We blend our production quality with your event. Your speakers plus our production quality and distribution equals more leads for everybody. For more information on how you can transform your event into something game-changing, contact us via the information on the screen. Hello guys, we're back with Chani, and before the break, Chani, we were just delving a bit into your business model. But I know that your reality and the reality of entrepreneurs in general, but particularly tech entrepreneurs, is that you face challenges.
For
What
sure.
is your biggest headache, if you can think of one big headache? And tell me what it is, and how can we help?
I think, like you mentioned, because it's a digital platform, it exists primarily on the internet. Yes, our teachers can deliver sessions in both modalities, in person and online, but the platform exists in the digital space. I will be honest, that's not my field. I am a STEM educator. I love science and I know my lane. I'm very passionate about this project, but I've never really operated in the digital space. I know that's your field. Our biggest challenge, I would say, is getting in front of our families and our students. We had a recruitment drive, so we've been in communication with all of the large universities in our region, the USC, University of the West Indies, all the campuses. And we've had, I mean, an overwhelming response. We have a very good HR team, but we're still pretty small, we're nascent, and we've been having hundreds of applicants, and they're very high quality applicants. So we're blessed for that. We're very excited for that. But that we're able to get that far because it's ironically a lot easier for us to reach out to the administration or the business development unit of Cave Hills campus than it is to get in front of parents, because there are a lot of gatekeepers to our students. I only have like 6 children in my family, so once I've exhausted those 6, I have to figure out how to show and demonstrate to the rest of the Caribbean what a good resource this is. We've been having a lot of traction. It's by no means negligible, but getting in front of the families that need it most. As I mentioned, accessibility is a huge gap we want to bridge. Our subscriptions start as low as 10 EC, which is like $3.70 US. So it's not very expensive, but being able to deliver that value proposition to the people that need it can be a very big challenge. Some of them are not where we are. So they might be on Instagram, they might be on the nightly news, they might be on a podcast. We don't really have a lot of insight into exactly where our target market is exactly. So we're casting a little bit of a wide net, yes, but we're kind of playing it by ear too. So we're pretty much fully staffed for tutors right now. So we're ready to launch, but we are excited to see the ways we can bring in students, being a digital company, being that we don't have a physical location like a building. um, I will say, and not to brag, my husband is very good at his job. So we have a very robust digital platform. It's excellent. Things work really well, but we have to get out in front of the audience that we're interested in and get to marketing. So I've been having a lot of meetings and it's been exhausting, but in the best way. And we're just excited to see how that plays out, right? We want to see like what it's going to look like to effectively push Bridgepoint to the limit and see how we can get students, and that's been a pretty big challenge for us.
Got you. So yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. But then you mentioned gatekeepers though, Shani, and I want you to be a bit more specific than that. I want you to tell me what exactly do you mean by that? Is there a specific, without, I guess, without sharing names obviously, but is there
Yes.
any specific situation that you can point to as an example that showcases exactly what you mean by, gatekeepers, and the issues getting in front of the individuals who need it the most, who are the students?
Right. So again, without specifics, right? So especially with education, we deal with a lot of minors. So that's one of the things we've spent the most, I would say almost the most time on, is making sure we're keeping our students safe. And it makes sense that the people who have the solemn, sacred responsibility of protecting our students, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of red tape. So it's paradoxically when we're actually being approached a lot. So we've been approached by community colleges in the region, universities in the region, but a lot of them are trying to see how Bridgepoint can be an institutional tool. So they would like, for example, for lecturers at UE to be able to use it with their students, or at South Louis Community College for it to be embedded in their platforms. So we're
Right.
having these discussions. So the value is there. They're happy to say that they love this, they think it's great. Um, but they're a little bit more focused on supporting the traditional institution, because they recognize the value. So we're having those conversations. Our business unit is having those conversations and about partnerships and separate phases and so on. But I do think, because the priorities of a lot of those gatekeepers, administrators, education officers for the ministries, ministers, and permanent secretaries, they have a lot of priorities, including providing supplementary resources, but a lot of their priorities lie in the traditional educational setting. So sometimes that can be difficult because they are the ones who can get us in front of the students, but they're thinking, wait, can we get this for our schools? So it's a very tricky game to play because we're excited about expanding Bridgepoint and our subsidiaries. That's very exciting. But really, like I said, my passion is for getting people like myself who have the skills, who have a little bit of flexible time to tutor, getting students who are, let's say, who live in a remote rural village, but they just need that extra support. But geographically, it's a little bit, the logistics are a little bit funny. We want to get Bridgepoint in their hands. And so sometimes the conversation kind of takes a left to let's bring it into our schools. And we want to say, no, let's bring it into the homes. Let's get the students their hands on there. So that's something we're kind of navigating to. And we're having, like I said, we've had a very good, our wait list is very healthy, but we do need to expand that to the families and the students and get in front of them so they can benefit from Bridgepoint.
Got you. So you
Yes.
basically you need Bridgepoint's story to be told, um, in a wider area, and in a place where those who actually need it can hear it. I'm just hearing, based on what you're saying. Sometimes we think of gatekeepers as people who are deliberately trying to damage or to stop something. But the
Yeah.
way you describe the gatekeepers are, I mean, they're there for security. I mean,
They're the, yeah.
it's tough getting around it,
Yes.
and but you understand why they do certain
Oh,
things.
absolutely.
So
Yes.
yeah, so it's more about protection than anything else a
Yes.
lot of times,
And competing
particularly when you're dealing
priorities,
with minors.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That's understandable.
Yes.
Now, whenever I speak to educators, whether it's on this podcast or off this podcast, um, and people with education platforms, my question always comes around somehow. My line of questioning always comes around to AI. Now,
Okay.
we're in a world of AI. Educators seem to have their hands full with AI. How do we best use it? I mean, we can't run
Yes.
away from it. It is here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a parent who is watching this says, I want my daughter, my son, my ward to be a part of this ecosystem. However, I do not want the lecturer or the tutor just to be feeding my child AI, and it doesn't feel personal. What do
Right.
you say to somebody like that who's a skeptic in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, it's very timely question. What I'll say, Quinn, is these concerns are entirely legitimate. That's what I have to start with. I taught in the environment, especially when AI was booming. I had to navigate that, the initial excitement, especially of students who are often the early adopters because they just want the experience. As I mentioned, coming from that background, that pedagogical background, I've seen the ugly side of AI. But I'm also progressive in the sense that, like you mentioned very astutely, AI is not going anywhere. And I think good educators have, I would argue, an ethical responsibility to figure out what place AI has in the educational experience of students. So that was one of the big questions that we had. How do we implement AI so that it's a tool and it's not a handicap for our students? It's not something that actually is going to deteriorate their educational experience, because I feel like that's easy to do with AI. And what we decided was a lot of the way educational institutions handle AI is from a reactive, um, retrospect perspective. So there are
Right.
AI detectors, for example. So they will run a piece of writing through an AI and try to catch it after the
Yes.
fact.
Right.
Or another way they do it is through policy, right? So there's a policy about the appropriate use of AI. And those things, I think they can work all together. So that's not a criticism that they're all bad. But what we
Mm-hmm.
at Bridgepoint decided was we are going to architecture AI in the way that we would like to see it be used. So instead of
Okay.
focusing on policy or reactive methods, we designed our AI to be what we call bounded and grounded. That means our AI does not draw from the internet. It draws for its RAG retrieval, which is it's only drawing from what we tell it can draw from, which is CXC's suite of materials. So their mark schemes,
Okay.
past paper questions, syllabi, and any official published information by CXC. So if there's an answer to a question, that answer is bounded by CXC's parameters. And then it's grounded, which means that its emphasis is in the Caribbean context based on what the
Mm-hmm.
priorities of the examination council has determined, rather than an AI like ChatGPT or OpenAI, who is it's learning from the World Wide Web. So our AI is not
Yes.
drawing from the entire internet. We have trained it on very specific materials. And then also, we use the Socratic approach, which is a very well respected approach in education, which basically honors the intellect of the student. So, our AI tools do not generate any materials for students. So, it cannot write prose, it cannot write essays, it cannot write labs, it can critique, and it can ask you questions. So, if a student asks, for example, what is the formula for photosynthesis? Our AI tutor is not going to respond with an answer. It will respond with a question. It will say, okay, um, what do you already know about what plants need to make food? What do you think a plant needs
Right.
to make food? And as the student responds, it will confirm and then provide additional context so the student can flesh out their understanding of the concept. And again, from my background as an educator, that's the best practice. So again, we designed the architecture, and that's the same for our SBA helper, our writing tool. We designed it so that it is allowing the student to be in the driver's seat of their education while still recognizing the value that AI can bring to the educational experience.
That's really beautiful, and that's a very interesting way to use it as well, because and I think that's one of the biggest challenges that I think an older generation has with AI, because quite frankly, the older generation believes that AI is just dumbing down a lot
Oh
of the
yeah.
work that's been done, and it's true.
Yeah.
It is a fair point.
Yes.
Sometimes you read certain things that you expect to be scholarly, or some person who is not very scholarly is writing something that sounds like a dissertation, and you
Yes.
question, okay, does this person even know what they put out? Does this person understand, what
Yeah.
they're trying to sell here? So
Yes.
yeah, I think that your approach is probably the best one, and obviously, you tweak it as you go, and have to
Yes.
improve and have to make alterations. But yeah, I like that you utilize, basically you utilizing the core of CXC's work and allowing the students
Yes.
to learn for themselves, and I think it's better that way.
To your point about like the older generation, we actually have the option for a parent to have no AI for their student. If the parent wants no diagnostic with AI, if the parent wants no AI tutor, they can actually say
Okay.
no AI whatsoever. That's an option as well.
Got you.
So again,
Got you.
coming from the perspective of we do understand the nuance around AI, and we want to again create that option. If you feel like, because we survived without AI, you don't need AI. But so if that's an
No, you
option
don't.
that parents want, that's there for them too. You don't have to have AI in that at Bridgepoint if you don't want to.
Okay, all right. And just out of curiosity, does the pricing change at all?
No, the pricing doesn't change.
Okay.
AIs, we consider it as part of the standard infrastructure, but you opt out if
Okay.
you want to restrict that for yourself.
Okay. All right. I like to hear that. Some parents might be nodding their head, listen to this and saying, "Yep, yep, we're opting out or we're opting in," depending on their
Yes.
preference.
Yes.
Depending on their preference.
Yes.
All right. So let's look ahead in the distance. I know if anything COVID taught us is that sometimes we look ahead in the distance and you never know what's in front of you. To be honest,
I
um,
know.
but
Yes.
but let's say that all things remain equal for the next 5 years. We're not going too far, just 5 years. What do you envision Bridgepoint being for the Caribbean?
Good question. It's making me a little bit sentimental because I'm in the thick of it right now before launch. So you feel like I'm looking right in front of my face as to what's coming, next, But
Right?
I think Bridgepoint, what I see it as is kind of where we started with this conversation. The experience and intimacy that I was able to have with my students to see them grow. I have students that are now doing their PhDs that I started with them when they were in their undergrad. Watching them and walking them through that educational process is a very special experience. And then for these students, having that support so that they can eventually walk on their own, meet their academic goals, I mean, there's so many different goals. Every student has their own. And being able to see that and experience that with just me as one tutor is very, very beautiful. And I would like to see Bridgepoint be a platform that enables that for any student who wants to access it in the Caribbean. I always say that, Bridgepoint is not going to catch every single person in the Caribbean, but I feel like anybody who wants it, it's there for them. I see Bridgepoint growing to be a household name, that people just know if I want to get this kind of support for my child, whether it's for transitioning from primary to secondary school or secondary to tertiary, I know Bridgepoint is the place. If they're looking for a resource for a simulation or an activity, I know Bridgepoint is the place. It's affordable, and we have high quality resources and experts on the website. I see Bridgepoint being the first in its class and the best in its class in this landscape because of the attention and the intention we have put in on this front end in developing the platform. I wanted to honor both the tutors and the students. And again, like I mentioned, I wanted to honor the Caribbean context. That was my biggest thing. I wanted it not to be, a US platform retrofitted for the Caribbean. I wanted it to be ours
Right.
and owned by us and the highest quality. That's kind of what I see for Bridgepoint. We do have some subsidiary products coming out that are not related to Bridgepoint, or they're related to Bridgepoint, but they're separate products for institutions. So we're growing and expanding. We have things coming on in phase 2 and 3 where tutors will be able to connect with one another and plan and so on. But that's where we're going. We want a unified Caribbean with access to wonderful supplementary resources and support, that is kind of the go-to for that kind of educational experience.
All right. So in that regard, I want you to practically pitch me. So let's say I'm an investor listening to this um podcast, and we're in an elevator together. So this is your elevator pitch, Shani. Um
Okay.
and we're here together in the elevator, and you have about 30 seconds to pitch me. What will you say about Bridgepoint that will get me to invest in your dream?
Okay, I would say the Caribbean is home to some of the biggest talent on the global scale, which we can see by
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we have some of the densest ratios of Nobel laureates to our population.
Right.
We
Right.
have produced some of the best minds in the world. And I think we owe it to our students and our families to give them every support we can within our traditional educational environments and our outside of the traditional educational environments. I think Bridgepoint is that supplementary piece that's been missing. It connects us geographically, it connects us economically, it connects us culturally to the resources that's going to take us from being just potential to realizing that potential for our students. I think that's something that all of us agree on, and I think Bridgepoint is kind of the way to get us across that gap.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so that's your pitch to the investor. Now pitch to parents. Now, a parent who is watching this.
To parents, I would say, I mean, it goes without saying that every parent wants what's best for their child. I think the Caribbean does a very good
Yes.
job at having a very good centralized, healthy education system. But for less than the price of a two-piece at KFC, you can support your child, their learning in a meaningful way for 30 days, 31 days a month, 24/7. You can give them access to high quality resources that will help them meet their academic goals that we know that parents have for their children. I feel like it's a very small sacrifice to make for a world of gain. It's kind of a no-brainer to me. Like any parent I can imagine who, of course, loves their child wants to see this in the hand of their children to get them to the next stage.
Beautiful. And finally, last but not least, talk to a child. Now let's say this is a secondary school child, right? Um,
Okay.
put it in a way that the child can understand why Bridgepoint is so important and how they can benefit from it.
You know, I think I would say to a student, especially a CSEC student, the it's very hard to see, especially from that your perspective as a teenager, how your education is going to materialize into the life that you want. But what we have done at Bridgepoint is taken into consideration the feedback from students like yourself, from your educators. We've taken into account what's going on globally, and we're trying to give you the best chance that we can where you are to be able to meet whatever goal that is in whatever subject area, whatever career. It will give you that opportunity to have an edge in the global landscape, in the region, certainly, but even in the world. It's very hard to see that again when you're a teenager, how something like this is going to be useful to you. But we have curated it to ensure that you have the best chance that you can to be successful at CSEC, to be successful at CAPE, and beyond. So it's an opportunity for you to grab your life by the horns very early on so you can have the life that you want.
Beautiful, beautiful. I couldn't say it any better, guys. So there are your three pitches. The pitch to any investor, pitch to any parent, and a further pitch to the students. I mean, I don't think we had to pitch to the tutors because I mean it's a no brainer.
No.
It's a no brainer for me.
Yes.
All right. So
I
right.
hope
All right.
so.
So very, very
Yes.
good. Very, very good.
Yes.
Shani, this is the end of our conversation. It has been a fantastic interview. A long time coming. I want to thank you for
Yes.
being here.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing. No problem, no problem. Thank you for sharing your story with the world. And Game Changers is available and willing to partner with Bridgepoint in any way to make your vision a reality. Because a
That's
lot of
great.
your goals align with our goals. We are youth oriented. We
Mm-hmm.
are a professional development platform. We are also a platform that is catered to the Caribbean market. So we align in so many ways, and we want to
Absolutely.
be your
Yes.
voice. We want to tell your story, and it is a remarkable story. So we hope
Yes.
that this episode is just the beginning of something remarkable that we'll build together.
Oh, I believe that 100%. I'm really glad that you've platformed me today. Like you said, it's been a long time coming, but I'm very excited to be here. And as you said, I think this is just the beginning of a beautiful partnership going forward.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right,
Yes.
guys. So if you want to see more of Game Changers' content, like, subscribe, and share this episode. Share this amazing story with the world. Game Changers is available wherever you get your podcast. If you want to listen to this podcast rather than view it, it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Like I said, wherever you get your podcast, you can get Game Changers. Also, check out our website. We do have very, very amazing merchandise that you can buy to support our channel in that way. So please support in that regard, and also follow us across social media and follow Bridgepoint where you can. All right. Thank
Yes.
you so very much for taking your time out to listen to us. And as always, I always say, stay hungry, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.